Hey everyone, I'm NornQueenAlexis and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Games Workshop and Marvel Comics team up and why I'm worried about this. Yeah. So right off the bat, I want to say this. This is my opinion. My opinion should not affect yours. My opinion is mine alone. And I just want to get that out of the way. Second off, the comic industry has been poor, to say the least. Aside from Warhammer 40k, some of you may know that I have a huge obsession with comic books. I have been a Marvel fangirl for years, but current iterations of Marvel comics have been bad. Very, very bad, to be honest. And here, I don't actually need these. Anyway, let me just move my hair real quick. Some of the comics that have come out have been so poor that nobody will ever talk about. Some of the comics were just gender swaps of certain superheroes like Ironheart and Iron Man, X-22 and Wolverine. There's a lot. And let's not talk about Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel or whatever they want to call her right now being rehashed 10 times in the past 6 years, with none of her comics selling well. In fact, they're really, really low sales. The comic book industry has been going on a downward spiral, 6% to 7% every single year. It has been making lower and lower amounts of money. This you can actually watch right on Comicron, which is an excellent resource for comic book sales and statistics and everything. And right off the bat, I want to tell you this. Though it may at first look like comic books are selling really well, and I go through this too with certain inventory in my store. I manage a game store in Cobleskill, New York. We have to have a certain amount of things from a company on the shelf in order to get more from that company. Games Workshop does this, as well as Diamond Distribution, which is the main source of getting comic books to a store nowadays. And sometimes they're like, hey, here's Marvel 1000. You have to have a dozen copies of this in the store, or buy 50 and you get a variant cover. And out of that, you'll sell maybe the variant cover. So they're very deceptive on their sales numbers. In fact, most of the shops around me in my local area, and I'm going to say my local area is anywhere within 2 hours of me since I'm in central New York, they either stop selling comics, have reduced comic sales down to just nothing, or they've gone out of business for putting too much into comic books. In fact, I think a comic book shop up in Troy, New York recently went under because it was a comic book store and could not maintain sales. And there's more to that story, but I don't want to get into that. But this is why I'm worried. Marvel has brought on certain writers that I kind of disagree with. Those writers being, I have this written down, Mags Vestagoa, or Mags, she's weird, and Zoe Quinn. There's a lot of drama around those two names right now, especially Zoe Quinn, who is a writer for Marvel, and they don't sell even 1,000 books of each of them. And I'm really, really, really worried about that. Especially now with Marvel Disney and Marvel coming forth with lying about certain sales numbers and certain sales of a particular movie, Captain Marvel, stating that it was a lot higher than it actually was. There's a lot in Marvel that I am worried about. I still try to collect some of the comics. I still try to keep up with Spider-Man and Miles Morales. I really like Miles Morales right now. Spider-Gwen was actually really, really, really decent, but the Carnage series is mediocre. The Amazing and Spectacular Spider-Man series are mediocre. And overall, the comic industry has been suffering with lower and lower sales. So with that in mind, I am worried about this. I actually have the original books from Games Workshop, their original comics, which I wish I actually brought it in with me. It was Will of Iron, and it was written by one of the writers for Black Library. In fact, Aaron Densky-Bowden has written the Deathwatch comic series, which was really good as well, and I really enjoyed them. The problem with the Marvel team up is it going to be Games Workshop writers, and are they going to be allowed to do what Games Workshop does, which is brutal carnage? Now, at first you'd be like, Alexis, there's a character called Carnage. Of course they're going to let this be more adult rated. And to that, I worry. Marvel has been pushing to be more or less politically correct. I don't mean that that's bad. I just mean that they are forcing it. So I do worry about these things. And truth be told, I'm hesitant. I'm going to buy the first issue, see how it builds up. With Will of Iron, the first issue caught me right away. An Inquisitor discovering the Fallen was a really good story. Inquisitor Sabathiel donning her Aegis Terminator armor in a ceremony was amazing. Her battling up against the Fallen and a bunch of mutants and Chaos cultists before being revealed that it was actually a trap by Chaos to get the Dark Angels and the Grey Knights and destroy them all at once. But Sabathiel had demonic help, and when the Grey Knights found out about this, they shot her dead. Unfortunately, towards the end of the comic book series, they had to write a quick ending because it wasn't selling well. Go figure. Who would have guessed? And that's one of the biggest problems about this. I worry about this. Will GW be able to lift up or even compete in Marvel's comic collection? I mean, it'll more than likely have the backing of maybe at most 100,000 Warhammer fans who might buy this. And I say might because, well, the rest of the comics didn't sell that well. Deathwatch and Will of Iron did not sell well. Those are the two most recent that I know of. Same with the Dawn of War 3 comic book, which was abysmal. And I worry about that because those three were written by Games Workshop employees, like writers for Games Workshop, and this might not be. But let's go ahead and dive into this and see what they actually say. Yeah, you read that right. Games Workshop and Marvel are collaborating to create Warhammer comics. Even better, the first comics are due to land in autumn 2020. Yeah, we know, it's super rad. This isn't the first time that Games Workshop and Marvel have done crossovers. Venom Space Knight, I think it's called, showed the Tau Empire, and everybody immediately thought that GW sued them over it. Turns out GW didn't at all, ever, or even intend to. There were some things that GW has said to Marvel, and they have done crossovers similar to that, like just subtle nods at each other. Also, Games Workshop stole the idea of adamantium from Marvel, just saying it's the same metal. Everyone knows Marvel Comics are the name behind many of the world's best-loved superhero characters. Yes, they do. You know, like Spider-Man, the Avengers, and X-Men. I wouldn't put X-Men up there. And Fantastic Four. Definitely would not put Fantastic Four up there. They are not the most well-known anymore. X-Men has been downhill. The new House of X has actually been pretty decent. I do like it. Avengers pretty much just died off with Endgame. They're going to try to continue it with Captain Marvel and the legal dispute between Spider-Man, which they got back, but Disney kind of ripped off Sony for 25% of the initial sales figures, plus all the merchandising, plus forcing Sony to actually make and produce it. Just saying, kind of a jerk move. I don't know how they're going to continue the Avengers in the cinematic universe since they're pretty much all gone. All the hot ones are anyway. They got rid of the hot ones. I mean, they still have Chris Pratt, and he's pretty hot. They can continue it with him. But that's Guardians of the Galaxy. With more than 80 years of comic experience, Marvel has built an amazing reputation for bringing together the best comic book writers. No. Bringing together the best comic book writers and artists to forge stories that span generations. Yeah, maybe in the early 90s and below. They had really good stories back then. The Marvel Zombies was pretty interesting up until it got really, really, really incredibly silly. For stories that span generations, it's not for nothing that Marvel has cemented itself as a household name. Well, yes, it has. Marvel is an extremely big company, and I do like Marvel. I think it is an incredible company, but I have concerns about it. And that's my biggest thing is I think this will do well. I'm not going to say that this won't do well because it probably will. It has the backing of 40K fans, plus some Marvel fans who might see this and think it's Halo, and or Gears of War, or there's several other things that look like Space Marines because they're pretty generic looking. And I don't know. I'm worried. Sales figures are down for Marvel's comic book sales. They continue to drop by 6% every year ever since 2016, which isn't a lot. 2016 was the height of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and currently it is the height again. But at the same time, comic book sales are not doing that well. So I do worry about this. So I want to hear your thoughts. Well, wait, before I actually end this, I do want to mention some things that are positive about this. Making Games Workshop's miniatures and Games Workshop's property a household name would be amazing. Games Workshop does not have a big fan base. I know a lot of you out there are going to be like, Alexis, there's at least, 200,000 people or 400,000, even 500,000 people that know Games Workshop. That's still nothing compared to the billions that know of Marvel or Pokemon or any of the other big giant titles that are out there. I do want Games Workshop to be mainstream. I really do. I think it would be amazing. But I don't want it to change too much from its current iteration. I do like the Primaris Space Marines. I do like the push for more female leads, more diversity in the Warhammer community itself. I do like that. But I don't like it forced. That's where I draw a line. I'm just like, okay, we don't really need this to be forced. There was actually a really funny moment in, I think it was in Will of Iron. I want to say it was in Will of Iron, when the chaplain took off his mask. He was of darker skin, and he held his gun sideways. And I was like, are you serious? Is this really happening? And that just blew my mind. I'm like, are you serious? But that aside, I do want GW to push forward into the future. They have an animated short coming out very soon. Death of Hope has been pushing more and more fans into the 40K universe, which I really like, and I am super happy for them. I think the Astartes animation has been doing really well. Everybody wants me to do a reaction to it, but truth be told, it is an older video at this point. I think it's amazing. I think all of the animations are amazing, with Death of Hope being probably the best amongst them, mostly because it's set in 30K, and I really like 30K. But with that all said, I want GW to push into the future. I want more people to come to this game and experience the community that I love. And I'm not talking about the online community filled with a bunch of trolls that hate everything no matter what, and who probably don't even actually play the game or own a single model or even own a real book. I'm talking about the actual community that shows up to big events like Adepticon, Nova, LVO, DragonCon has a big Warhammer part of it now, and all the tabletop players that are introduced into 40K and pushing this company into the future. I really want more of that. I love that. Let's get more community. Hopefully Marvel can do something with that, and I'm really, really, really hoping it's Games Workshop writers writing the comic and not Marvel's writers writing the comics. So I am concerned, but at the same time, I see this as a positive. Take that away from this. I am worried, but I fully support this. I just have a little bit of worry. Okay. I'm glad that I got to say all of this. Now, with that all said, I want to know your thoughts. Comment in the comment section down below and tell me what you think about all of this. Do you think that this is a good idea? Do you think that this is a terrible idea? What are your thoughts about the future of Warhammer 40k? Please tell me all of them. I literally sit down for hours and read every comment that I get. I read every single one of them. I want to know your opinion on this. And while you're down there, be sure to click that subscribe belly thingy and, subscribe to the channel, because that bell thing actually tells you that I release new videos, because, subscribing isn't enough for YouTube. I don't know. Also, be sure to like this video. That stupid little like thingy actually does a lot. And share this video all over your social media. Even if you have like 1 or 2 followers, it really helps. But with that, I want to say thank you to everybody who watches and supports this channel. You can follow me on all sorts of social media, including Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I post a lot of different things all over social media. There you can see just a bunch of different versions of what you like here. Anyway, guys, if you're super awesome, be sure to check out Patreon. It goes a long way to helping me out. $1 a month really helps. As always, I'm NornQueenAlexis. I love you guys. Bye.